Golden light spilled across the marble steps of the city's grand courthouse, casting long shadows from its towering pillars. People shuffled past, some in suits, some in casual clothes, most rushing to finish their business before the close of the day. Among them walked Judge Maya Jefferson, dignified, composed, draped in her black robe. She carried a sleek leather briefcase in one hand, her steps measured, her expression calm yet unyielding. But her path was suddenly blocked. Officer Daniel Mercer, a tall white policeman in crisp blue uniform, extended his arm firmly across her way. His jaw was clenched, his voice official. "Ma'am, I'll need to see some identification before you enter." Maya stopped. She did not flinch, did not waver. Her gaze, steady and authoritative, locked on his. Around them, whispers rose from bystanders. Some pulled out phones, recording. A murmur spread. Why was a judge being stopped outside her own courthouse? "Officer," she replied evenly, "I don't believe you ask every judge who enters this building for identification." His hand remained up. "Just following protocol." "Or prejudice?" she asked softly, her voice sharp enough to cut the golden air between them. For a moment, neither moved. The courthouse loomed behind, symbol of justice and equality, and yet, here stood its contradiction at the front gate. Maya Jefferson's journey had been anything but simple. Born in a modest southern town, she was the daughter of a school teacher and a postal worker. Her mother instilled discipline, her father quiet resilience. From an early age, Maya saw the silent battles her parents fought. Landlords dismissing their complaints, banks rejecting their loan applications, schools underfunded and overlooked. She refused to accept the boundaries others drew for her. By age 12, she devoured law books from the town library, fascinated by words like justice and precedent. By 15, she could recite passages from Thurgood Marshall's arguments and dreamt of standing in a courtroom where her voice would carry weight. Scholarships carried her through college, but she faced the unspoken doubts of classmates and professors alike. Was she admitted for merit or for diversity? The whispers stung, but they also sharpened her resolve. Years of late nights, case studies, and endless trials led her to law school graduation. When she raised her hand and took the oath as judge, she whispered to her late mother's photograph, "This robe is not just mine. It is for everyone you taught, everyone who never had their voice heard." Officer Daniel Mercer's story was very different. Raised in a household where the badge was tradition, not just profession, Daniel was taught that law enforcement meant honor, protection, and sacrifice. His father, also an officer, drilled into him, "You must be firm. Respect is earned by showing authority." But woven into those lessons were subtle warnings. Be careful who you trust. Watch certain neighborhoods. Don't let your guard down. These seeds grew quietly in Daniel's mind, shaping his instincts. At the police academy, he excelled in discipline and procedure but struggled with nuance. To him, safety often meant suspicion. Better to stop one too many than let one slip by. That was the mantra drilled into recruits. By the time Daniel stood guard at the courthouse steps, he was no monster. He was a man carrying years of inherited caution and unexamined prejudice. So when he saw Maya Jefferson approach, robe flowing and briefcase in hand, something inside him whispered, "Question her. Confirm. Don't assume." He told himself it was protocol. But even in that moment, a small, buried voice inside him wondered if it was more. The standoff stretched as the golden light deepened. Onlookers shifted closer, their whispers rising. "She's a judge," someone shouted. "Let her in," another demanded. Maya remained calm. Slowly, deliberately, she drew her identification from her robe and held it up like a shield. "Judge Maya Jefferson, Superior Court." Daniel's eyes flicked over the card. His throat tightened. He realized his mistake, but his pride bound him. "Just doing my job," he muttered. "No," Maya corrected, lowering her ID with deliberate poise. "You stepped beyond your job. You stopped me because of what you assumed, not who I am. Remember this moment, Officer Mercer, because the law remembers." Gasps spread through the crowd. Daniel shifted back, his authority undercut, his conscience rattled. Maya walked past him, head high, robe trailing like a banner of defiance. That night, the confrontation exploded online. Videos flooded social media. Headlines questioned the officer's judgment, the system's fairness. Supporters hailed Maya as a symbol of dignity. Critics defended Daniel as cautious. But beneath the noise, a storm had been lit, one neither Maya nor Daniel could control. By morning, news anchors replayed the clip on endless loop. Hashtags trended: Leather Pass, Justice Blocked, Judge Jefferson. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse with signs. A robe deserves respect and bias has no badge. Civil rights leaders demanded an inquiry. The police union defended Daniel, claiming he followed procedure. Politicians seized the stage, some praising Maya as a trailblazer, others accusing her of playing victim. Maya herself refused to grant interviews. "My courtroom speaks for me," she told her clerks. But her silence only deepened curiosity. Who was this judge? What battles had she already fought? Daniel, meanwhile, became a reluctant symbol. Reporters camped outside his home. His superiors urged him to apologize publicly, but he resisted. "I didn't mean disrespect," he insisted. "I was doing my duty." Yet late at night, alone with his thoughts, he replayed her words, "The law remembers." He wondered what that meant and why it unsettled him so deeply. As the controversy grew, both Maya and Daniel's pasts were dragged into the spotlight. For Maya, old struggles resurfaced. Former classmates admitted how she had endured whispered doubts and blatant slights. Former clients spoke of her relentless defense in impossible cases. One man said tearfully, "She saved my life when no one else believed me." For Daniel, the scrutiny cut deeper. Records revealed he had made similar extra precautionary stops before, disproportionately targeting people of color. He had never faced punishment, but the pattern was undeniable. Activists cried, "This isn't one mistake, it's a habit." The city divided sharply. Some called Maya a hero, others painted her as opportunistic. Daniel was either defended as a scapegoat or condemned as proof of systemic bias. And through it all, both of them knew this was no longer about a moment on courthouse steps. It was about everything those steps represented. Weeks later, fate forced them into the same courtroom. Maya Jefferson sat at the bench, robe crisp, expression calm. Before her stood a case involving police misconduct, and at the witness table sat none other than Officer Daniel Mercer. Gasps filled the room when they locked eyes. Some whispered that Maya should recuse herself, but legally she had every right to preside. The case was grim. A young man wrongfully detained during a routine stop, alleging harassment and abuse. Daniel was not the arresting officer, but he had signed off on the report. As testimony unfolded, Maya's questions cut sharp. "Officer Mercer, when you justify suspicion, what exactly do you mean?" He stammered, aware that every word weighed double, as evidence, and as echo of their confrontation. In that room, judge and officer were no longer symbols. They were human beings bound by law, watched by a city. As the trial continued, startling truths emerged. The young man's stop had been fabricated, his record scrubbed clean after hidden. Body cam footage surfaced. Worse, the report Daniel signed was traced back to orders from higher up. Supervisors demanding proactive policing numbers. Daniel realized he had been a cog in a larger machine. For years, he had obeyed without questioning, believing caution was duty. Now, in open court, those very habits threatened to unravel his career. Maya listened, her heart heavy. She had spent her life believing justice could prevail in the courtroom. But even she felt the weight of how deeply prejudice and corruption ran. And then came the twist. Evidence linked the false reports not only to Daniel's department, but to a senior official who had once tried to block Maya's judicial appointment. Suddenly, this was bigger than one judge and one officer. It was a fight against the system itself. The revelations broke the city wide open. Daniel, once defiant, found himself questioning everything he had believed. For the first time, he admitted publicly, "I stopped Judge Jefferson because I assumed. I signed reports I never challenged. I let the badge think for me." That was wrong. It was not enough to erase years of harm, but it was a beginning. Maya, in her rulings, struck firmly against the corrupt practices exposed. She ordered systemic reviews, demanded reforms, and refused to let the trial be buried. The confrontation on the courthouse steps had been a spark. Now it became a fire-consuming walls of silence. Months later, the courthouse looked the same, tall pillars, long shadows. But the air felt different. Officer Daniel Mercer was no longer stationed at the steps. After disciplinary hearings, He chose to leave the force, starting a community program to mentor at-risk youth. He said quietly, "If I can stop them from inheriting my mistakes, it's worth it." Judge Maya Jefferson continued to preside, her reputation now national. She became a voice not just of law, but of conscience. To new clerks, she often repeated, "Justice is not about who stands tallest, but about who refuses to bow to fear." The video of that day still lived online, a frozen moment of tension. But those who knew the story saw more than a confrontation. They saw transformation. For in the clash between a judge and an officer, a city had glimpsed itself, its flaws, its divisions, but also its power to change. And as Maya Jefferson walked once more up the courthouse steps, no one stopped her. Instead, the people parted, silent in respect, as the pillars of justice rose tall behind her.